Kulbachny Dmitry Anatolievich, Brigade 227, Military Unit 1428.
How did you end up in the ranks of the regular soldiers?
So I left my house where I live, went to the metro with some cigarettes, and on my way back, a minibus drove by me. They said to me like, come here. And I was without any documents, without anything. They took me into the bus to find out who I was, to check my identity, what I was doing. They checked everything based on what I told them. I knew about all these things, that this kind of thing happens, that it can happen. I realized that I had ended up at the military enlistment office. We drove off, we went to the draft office. They took us to a separate room. There were other people there, other guys. I managed to call my wife while we were on the way and told her that the military enlistment office had taken me. And closer to the evening, all of us, well, not all, except for one person. There was something going on anyway. He was left behind, and as I later realized, the rest of us were taken for a medical examination. We went through all the offices. Everywhere I went, I explained what was wrong with me, like my arm, for example. It doesn't bend, I have these injuries, these illnesses and everything else, but in the end, I was found to be fully fit for service. So I talked with representatives from the NTC, and I told them I was an officer and all that. They asked where I wanted to be assigned, and I said, guys, you have to understand, I haven't had any training. I just finished the military department at university. I haven't done any military service, nothing. So if you're going to send me somewhere, you need to teach me something, at least a little. I mean, even though I'm a senior lieutenant, what's the point if I don't know anything? I've never even fired an assault rifle. It was nothing. What war? I wasn't interested in any of that. It was completely foreign to me. So there was an option to join a rear communications regiment, since I'm a communications specialist. I asked, how will I be trained? They said, oh, they'll teach you everything there. They took me to the place where all the officers were. I was sent to the communications regiment. I was assigned as a platoon commander, sort of. Communications unit? I had, it turns out, 8 people under my command. My job was to keep a logbook and collect signatures, like to confirm that we had completed some kind of briefing. I don't really remember. Something about support or safety procedures, or maybe something about water. One day we were working with some equipment. We were trying to set up a radar like that. Well, I thought at least this is some kind of training. At least I'll see something technical. So the next day I'm getting all these signatures together. And they tell me, stop wasting your time with that nonsense. Go pack your things, an order has come in for you. You're being assigned. You're being transferred. How am I supposed to handle it? Like, there's something about Starlink. In the game, there are 4 Starlinks. Something about Starlink, like, aren't you going to ask? Well, what is Starlink anyway? I've read about it, I understand how it works. I mean, I didn't just watch YouTube videos on how to set it up. There's nothing to do, just set it up. Anyone can set it up, so don't worry, even for a motorized regiment. So, it's not a radio specialist's job, you'll just have to follow orders, distribute communications, radios and so on. At night, from that angle, they saw me as a subordinate, everything was fine, so they'll get me out of there. So from Novomoskovsk I ended up in Kryvyi Rih, like at the headquarters, and by the evening I had already received it. There was a vehicle, but I didn't know that I was supposed to be replaced, that after 9 they took it away. I went to talk to the battalion commander. The main boss, the battalion commander. We had a communications company commander who was supposed to transfer to another position, and I was supposed to replace him, to take over his post. They all assumed that I was, you know, a smart guy, that I came in knowing things. No one asked where I was from or anything, but the guys were like, I've only been in the army for 5 days, how are you going to handle this? We had 5 vehicles there, 5 cars, 4 trucks and 4 passenger cars. Then they showed me the list of equipment that, here's the book, it lists what I'm supposed to accept, what I need to learn, what I need to know, and what I'm responsible for. I ended up with the battalion commander and told him the same story again. He says to me, look kid, he says, you got set up, meaning you really won't be able to handle this assignment. This is no joke. If, for example, you mess up somewhere, like if you go to the front lines to fight and you can't handle it, they'll consider you done for, they'll get rid of you, you'll be killed. So I wrote a statement, not exactly a statement, more like a report maybe, that I had familiarized myself with a list of my tasks, and based on my understanding of the scope of work I would have to perform. I wrote him notes saying, I can't handle this, I'm asking you. That is to keep me in the unit, but transfer me to a job that I would be able to do, according to precisely what truly matches my current abilities. That's exactly it. We were completely done. We then went back home to communications company. I said, so what am I supposed to do now? He said, take the regulations and study them. You don't know anything yet, so learn the regulations, study them. Take the list which of radios, you know, walkie-talkies, Starlinks, encryptors and so on, basically all the equipment. Take it, you have the internet, all of this is online. Read the specifications, study what it is, because you'll need it anyway. After all, you're here, and in the end, you should be the one dealing with all this. A couple of days go by, and then an order comes in for me that I'm being sent for training in Kiev. A 3-week course at the Military Technical Institute. When I got these orders over the weekend, I went with some guys from Kryvyi Rih, driving to Kryvyi Rih by car. From there, I was supposed to go to this. They don't need me there right now, so why should I hang around? To this unit, which is basically a holding area. I stayed there for about a week. My job was to be stationed at the gate with the radio, letting people in and out, reporting who arrived and who left. You stand guard for 4 hours. Well, that's how it was until I had to go to Kiev. Up until that point, that's where I was. When I arrived in Kiev, the training was like this. For example, the subject was electronic warfare. There were 3 sessions, and the instructor himself would come in and say, guys, there were 18 of us, I think. Who are you? All of us, so to speak, were commanders, company communications commanders, platoon communications commanders, and so on. He says, I don't know what to give you in 3 sessions. Here's a reading list. Take it and read. After the training in Kryvyi Rih, I go to the commander and say, that's it, I'm sick, I need to see a doctor. I go to the hospital and say, treat me. They say, you need to be admitted. They send me to be admitted to get treatment at the city hospital. Then after that, I end up back at my unit in Crimea, again the same guard duties and so on at the checkpoint. After that, I don't know what exactly was being formed, but basically there was some kind of reorganization. And they send all of us with me. There was a guy there, and we all came together from different places to Kirchevka. We had our own commander there too. I didn't have any subordinates under my command. I stayed there. For 2 to 3 to 4 days we went to the hangars. The guys were cleaning up there, and we, as officers, just watched over them. Our task was to observe what the guys were doing. After that, in the morning, they took us to Chuguyev. We gathered together. There are 6 of us, it turns out, and we end up in Izium. They gathered us all together. There were a lot of soldiers. They brought us into a basement and told us, here's the situation. The Russians have broken through. We've left Zelenaya Dolina. So now, because we've left Zelenaya Dolina, we'll have to reinforce Shindrigalovo. They showed us the layout of the village on paper maps. I was shocked when I heard them talking about digging trenches. They told me, it's fine, don't worry. The Russians are far from Shindrigalovo, it's really far. Right there in Izium, I said, guys, what are you doing? Where are you sending us? Do you understand? I hadn't even taken the course, I don't know how to shoot. They said, that's nothing, don't worry, you'll just be observing. You'll be observing, you don't have to shoot. In the worst case, just fire a shot in the direction of the Russians, it's fine. So as a result, there were us. They took us in a separate vehicle. I think there were about 15 people. They gathered guys from our rear battalion and other rear battalions and put us in a vehicle. They took us to Shengri-Galovo. They settled us in a 3-story building. They gave us a course on how to provide first aid. They gave us first aid kits because we didn't have any. And in the morning, the 3 of us were moved to a house. There was a house, a partially destroyed private house. They led us through it and said, leave your things here and let's go further. We'll show you the positions. I left my things, went to the positions, and we couldn't understand what we were supposed to do. Our senior officer also seemed a bit confused. So we sat there basically. The senior officer was supposed to find out, look for a house, find yourselves a house, and the shelling was terrible. So it wasn't like we could just... We actually ended up in, finally, the end. A small trench, about 2 meters by 2 meters, maybe even less. The 3 of us sat there like that, 3 people. And that's it, there was the same distance in front of us. We sat and couldn't go out because the birds were flying, drones, and constantly something was shooting. That is, you could hear mortars and so on. In general, the guy who was more experienced, I have made all the necessary arrangements with the guys who are conveniently nearby. There was a house that we would get to them after all. And the 2 guys who were with me went to the house to negotiate and left me at the position. I stayed there all the way until evening, until it got dark, calling them, saying, guys, come get me, let's figure something out, come get me, let's figure something out. The guy, the younger one who was with us, he was an officer from Lviv. He deliberately didn't call me. He kept saying, wait, leave it. And so we dragged it out until 9 in the evening. Then they told me, run. I said, guys, I don't know where to run. Get out, run. Run toward the voice. I ran toward the voice in complete darkness. They took me down to the basement. That was when I finally got to eat something. I hadn't eaten for a whole day. We were, as I later realized, everyone was from different units. I was from the 227th or 1428th. The senior groups were from the 3rd Assault Brigade. They were, which by the way really quite actually shocked me. They were former convicts or convicts, actual convicts. And for me, when after those senior group leaders, those newly appointed senior group leaders arrived, I got severely beaten with heavy rifle butts and so on. Basically, you could accurately say that I ended up in a situation much like being in prison. So if I put something in the completely wrong place or did something that was considered wrong, I would face consequences. For example, in Panay, I accidentally shone the light on the ceiling. Right away I'd get hit in the head or body with fists and so on. They decided to move me, so they transferred me to another place for deployment. They transferred me to the deployment. Some guys were already there, but not the ones from before. The senior from the assault rifleman group was gone. Now there was a different guy. He was the main one from the rifle unit, basically the boss. The 3 of us lived together just fine, we got along well, and the relationships there were normal. Then they transferred me to a 3rd place. Again, it turned out to be the same thing there. Good guys too, again from the 3rd Assault Unit, no one else. Just the 3 of us, the only ones present. The group leader gets sent on a mission. They reorganize, or rather he gets sent on a mission either to clear something or attack, basically a combat mission. And we stay behind, just the 2 of us, me and the guy. So it turns out we lived together just like that, and they didn't add anyone else to us. This group didn't have The trench was destroyed. So our task was to sit in the basement and keep watch from the house that was built next to the basement. We had sort of a rule before anyone went out, not really knowing what was going on. We'd say the password to each other, like Izium Dnipro. I'd say the password, but no one would answer me with the password. Then it starts, I hear voices, I go up to Ford and ask, who is it? I don't remember what he answered me, but I realized they were Russians. I tell him, please don't shoot. He says, show me your hands. I show him my hands. So he comes down to me. Don't shoot from the hiker. It's all good. Everything else is hiker. There we immediately shook hands and everything was perfectly fine. I say, I'll do it. I'll hand over my rifle. Here, please, take the rifle. I give him my loaded rifle, and then we go out, and then Vanya comes out through the window. He sticks his head out, and I'm unarmed. The weapon is over there. I also want to surrender. Take me too. The two of us, we are both taken. We gather whatever food we have and move through the house to the neighboring basement. This was around September 10th. How exactly did the captors treat you during your time in captivity? We, along with others, lived in a state of captivity for approximately a full month, and it's important to note that they did not physically tie us up at any point. We lived on equal terms, just like the guys, of course. The attitude was absolutely normal, though. Of course, there were moments when they would yell at you for sitting in the wrong place or something like that. But overall, the relationship was normal. We were just waiting for the moment when the guys would be allowed to leave their combat mission. And then after that, we spent another 4 days coming out of the combat mission.
I see. Tell me, what was scary for you? You spent all this time on the front line, moving from position to position. What stuck with you? What did you actually see? What shocked you, maybe?
Well, I ended up right away. I ended up in horror. On my very first day, I came under a terrible shelling. That is to say, drones were buzzing above me. There were a lot of incoming shells from all kinds of weapons. All of it was landing literally just meters away from me. I was left alone, not knowing what to do. The guys didn't pull me into the house. That was my first day. Then our entire dugout was completely destroyed. That's the specific one where we had meticulously dug a deep trench. First and foremost, our beloved house was utterly destroyed in the devastating event. We grabbed our things and ran from the house to the dugout. The next day, our dugout was destroyed. And on that day, it happened that the dugout was being destroyed. A shell hit from the side where Sure, there was a small trench over there. That's precisely where I ultimately ended up finding a place to hide. And right there, immediately next to me, basically, several drones unfortunately got caught on the camouflage netting, and two of these unmanned aerial vehicles fell just a few short meters away from my position without actually exploding, and I will absolutely never ever forget the intense feeling and the vivid sensation when a drone is actively burning and rapidly falling right next to you, creating a truly unforgettable moment. Well, I thought, thank God I'm alive.
Losses.
Are they heavy? There were about 40 of us who went in, and at that moment, the two of us were just figuring out how many of us were left. About 18.
Are you glad that you ended up
Prisoner? Yes, I'm glad I was taken prisoner and that I was lucky enough not to have to shoot. If, for example, it had been a situation at a position, maybe I would have had to act differently. So basically what happened was I met a Russian, said don't shoot, and he didn't start shooting, and I ended up being captured without any conflict at all. And in your case,
What do people say about surrendering and being taken prisoner?
the thing is, the guy who was from the 3rd Assault Brigade, obviously he was a fanatic, and the other one too, he was a major, also from the 3rd Assault Brigade. So I didn't really have that kind of conversation with them, especially since they didn't talk to me anyway, since I'm a Russian speaker. And they'd say, don't piss us off, stop speaking your Russian, don't piss us off with your Russian. Well, let's put it this way. The guys who were, the normal ones, the regular soldiers, not from the 3rd Assault Brigade, the ones you could actually talk to, they'd say, well, we're stuck here. What can we do? We'll just act according to the situation. So it was like, okay, so what now?
Do you have a family?
Yes. I have a dear mother and a wife. 2 children, one is mine, one is ours together.
Are they adults?
The children? Yes, the children are adults, 26 and 32.
Could you please tell me, before you were actually taken to the TCC, what exactly did you do as a civilian in your everyday life?
I drove a taxi.
You drove a taxi your whole life? No. Is it
Higher up.
higher education?
In what? I have a higher education as a radio equipment designer. All my life I worked at the radio market. That is, I sold equipment, parts and everything else. So everything I did later on was connected to electronics. And
So what exactly can you tell me about your leadership qualities and your overall approach in terms of governing the government and its various departments?
I believe that back then, when Zelensky was running for office, I even helped with what he was campaigning on, with what he brought to his position. I believed there would be peace, that everything would be fine with Donbass, that we would establish good relations with the Russians and everything else. I helped people, brought them to the polling stations myself, and literally, it was in the fall, I think, the elections. I remember that my attitude toward him changed drastically, literally within half a year, when the Great Patriotic War stopped being the Great Patriotic War for him. At that time, when he was in a camp, some kind of Holocaust or something in Poland, when he insulted Soviet soldiers, when he insulted my grandfather who fought in the war, I'm not a good person. And the further it went, the more he started to betray me with his actions over and over again. And the last thing, what's happening in the city now with the renaming of streets? Seriously, what's wrong with Pushkin, with Friendship of Peoples, with Heroes of Labor? Why aren't those good enough? Street names like Heroes of Labor, for crying out loud, Friendship of Peoples. So you ended up voting for him, right? Well, to get rid of Poroshenko, of course, yes. Voting for everything better? Well, naturally against. He spoke sensibly about the Russian language, saying everything would be fine. Guys, we'll communicate in whatever language is comfortable. That was all from the start. I thought, damn, thank God. When he won, I got drunk, man. That day, I thought, damn, finally something is going to change. For me, the main goal is not to fight. I mean, I don't want to kill anyone. I don't know the terms of the exchange. I'm afraid of the exchange because I'm scared they'll make me fight again. But only because of that. But of course, I want my mother, my children, my wife. Of course, I want to be with my family, my beloved children. Mother, I really want to be with you. I miss you so much. Guys, well, I was with you in the trenches and with the guys here in captivity. We are brotherly people, so why are we fighting? We shouldn't fight, stop shooting. What else could I do? I don't know. A way out? There was no way out. This is how it turned out for me. This was my way out. I surrendered. As for you, think about it. I don't know. Try to figure something out somehow.